Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive right into the secrets behind the invisible backbone of our modern infrastructure. Think about it. You see it literally every single day, from the ordinary office buildings we work in to those massive record-spanning bridges we drive across. Yep, we're talking about concrete and steel. These two materials essentially hold our entire world together. But how they actually do it and why they need each other so desperately is just a totally fascinating story of engineering ingenuity. Today, we're going to break down exactly how engineers take a material with a pretty fatal flaw and transform it into the single most common structural material used worldwide.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The flaw in concrete. 2. Steel to the rescue. 3. Pushing limits with prestressed concrete. 4. 2 ways to tension. And finally, 5. Engineering for durability. Let's get right into it.
All right, part 1, the flaw in concrete.
So on its own, plain old concrete actually has a really critical structural weakness. Now, it's incredibly strong in compression. If you push down on it, it's a champ. It easily resists crushing forces, so if you subject it to extreme weight, it holds up beautifully. But the moment you try to pull it apart, it's remarkably weak in tension. It cracks under relatively modest stretching forces. Steel, on the other hand, is its exact mechanical opposite. Steel is extremely strong in tension, effortlessly resisting those exact same stretching forces that would easily destroy plain concrete.
Which brings us to part 2, steel to the rescue.
So here's the crucial workaround. That fatal weakness of concrete is completely solved by embedding steel reinforcing bars, what we all know as rebar, inside the concrete before it cures. Because steel is so strong in tension, engineers can strategically place rebar right into the tension zones of a concrete member, allowing the two materials to finally work together as a single unit. This is the magic of reinforced concrete. Picture a beam and a ceiling. As heavy weight pushes down on that beam, it naturally wants to bend. And when it bends, the top of the beam gets squeezed while the bottom gets stretched out. So the concrete handles the compression on top, while the embedded steel rebar steps up to fight the tension on the bottom. And engineers don't just guess here, by the way. They carefully calculate exactly how much rebar is needed and precisely where to place it based on the bending and shear forces expected for every single structural piece.
But you know, concrete and steel don't just work well together because of those contrasting strengths. They work together for a second, really vital reason that honestly feels like a miracle of physics. They have almost identical rates of thermal expansion. This means that as the weather gets hot or cold, the concrete and the steel actually expand and contract together in perfect harmony. If they didn't do this, the structure would literally tear itself apart from the inside out every time the seasons changed. Plus, as a nice bonus, concrete actually naturally protects the embedded steel from corrosion. As long as it's thick enough and doesn't have any major cracks, it acts like a protective shield right around the rebar.
Moving right along to part 3, pushing limits with prestressed concrete.
Now, this concept is absolutely central to modern structural engineering. Prestressed concrete takes the whole idea of reinforced concrete and pushes it a massive step further. It involves deliberately compressing the concrete before any actual surface load is even applied to it. Think about that for a second. By pre-compressing the concrete, engineers are actively counteracting the tension that they know is going to happen once the structure is actually being used, like, say, when hundreds of heavy cars drive onto a bridge. Because the concrete is already being squeezed incredibly tightly, it stays in compression rather than developing tension. And if it doesn't develop tension, well, it doesn't crack.
And the real-world result of this clever little trick is game-changing. By keeping the concrete in compression and stopping those cracks under normal use, engineers dramatically boost the performance of the material. Prestressed concrete lets them design significantly longer spans and remarkably thinner structural sections than conventional reinforced concrete would ever allow. So, if you've ever looked up at a modern highway bridge and wondered, how in the world do those long, thin concrete girders span such massive distances without snapping? Well, this is precisely why. It's all thanks to prestressing.
Let's look at how this is done in part 4, 2 ways to tension.
There are basically two primary methods engineers use to achieve this prestressed state, and it really just depends on where the actual construction is happening. First up, we have pre-tensioning. This is almost always done in a controlled factory setting. It's the go-to method for manufacturing precast concrete elements. We're talking about those massive bridge girders we just mentioned, or those big chunky components for parking structures. They're built entirely off-site and then just trucked right to the location. Alternatively, we have post-tensioning. Now, this is widely used when the concrete is being cast in place right there on the active construction site. You'll see this method a lot for long-span floor slabs and towering high-rises or large bridge segments built right in midair. In post-tensioning, steel tendons are threaded through special ducts inside the concrete, and they're tensioned only after the concrete has already been poured and cured.
The actual physics behind this manufacturing process are super fascinating. Let's zoom in on that pre-tensioning factory method for a second. Picture this. First, before a single drop of concrete is poured, powerful hydraulic jacks stretch the steel tendons extremely tight, and then they anchor them down. Next, the concrete is poured right over those stretched out tendons and left to fully cure and harden. Finally, once the concrete is rock solid and tightly bonded to the steel, those anchors get released. The steel instantly tries to snap back to its original length, just like a giant rubber band. But because it's trapped by the hardened concrete, it ends up squeezing the entire element into a permanent state of compression. It's just a brilliantly simple sequence.
And finally, Part 5, Engineering for Durability.
Remember a minute ago when we mentioned that prestressing reduces cracking and how that helps the structure last longer? Well, reduced cracking directly improves durability because, plain and simple, cracks are the absolute best pathway for water and chemicals to sneak in and attack the embedded steel. And corrosion of that hidden reinforcement is one of the most common and, frankly, most unbelievably expensive long-term problems affecting structures all over the globe. That makes something called concrete cover absolutely vital. This is the carefully specified distance between the outer exposed surface of the concrete and the embedded steel reinforcement hiding inside. It acts as a physical barrier. Maintaining a thick, crack-free concrete cover is a critical design feature for long-term durability. Basically, it's the structure's very first line of defense.
But sometimes, especially if you're building in harsh marine environments or chemical plants, a standard concrete cover just isn't going to cut it. Engineers have to bring out the big guns, advanced protections to ensure the structure actually survives. First off, high-strength concrete mixes have become super common. These mixes are so incredibly dense and strong that they allow engineers to design even smaller structural sections while still carrying massive loads. Second, we have fiber-reinforced concrete. This is where thousands of tiny little fibers, made of steel, glass, or even synthetics, are mixed right into the concrete batch to dramatically improve its toughness and stop cracks from spreading. And finally, for the ultimate defense against that nasty corrosion problem, engineers increasingly specify corrosion-resistant reinforcement itself. Instead of standard steel, they might throw in epoxy-coated rebar, or even go all out with solid stainless steel rebar, just to guarantee the inside of the structure survives the harshest environments you can imagine.
So, we've seen how engineers magically combine concrete and steel, how they use prestressing to totally push the limits of materials science, and how they armor these massive structures against time and the elements. Reinforced and prestressed concrete truly are the hidden backbone of our modern world. But you know, all this leaves us with an incredibly important question to ponder. When you're dealing with materials this heavy and spans this incredibly long, how in the world do engineers precisely measure and position these massive, record-spanning structural elements out in the real world down to the exact millimeter? Well, the extreme precision required to actually build the things we've discussed today relies entirely on surveying and geospatial fundamentals, which, conveniently enough, is exactly what we'll be exploring in our next explainer. See you then!